Are armored Kossars any good in patch 5.2? Well, I do have one deep insight for the differences between this unit and the regular Kossars. And not to beat around the bush, that important difference is they're armored. Okay, let's get serious, but as Kizlev, we need ways to break the ice. Recruited for 650 gold and 163 upkeep, this unit has 100 entities, not 90, not 120, on Ultra scale. Health is 8,200 unit wide. Armor on the armored Kossars is 80, with silver quality shields blocking 55% of small arms missile damage from the front, providing one-stop missile tar pit shopping. Leadership starts at 65, speed 30, charge speed 38, so not the slowest but not fast. Melee attack starts at 32 with an attack interval the standard 4 seconds between animations. This is interesting for how normal it is, marking this as a genuine melee unit with benefits. Melee defense starts at a steely 40, not at all bad. Weapon strength comes at 32, split between 23 base and 9 armor piercing. There's no special bonus. Charge bonus is 12 and mass is 125. Let's call these stats decent without being exceptional. Now, we're not done because armored Kossars have a missile attack, and the quick version is this is a lot like Slayer Pirates. 6 ammunition, 90 range, nominal damage 18, damage per actual strike is 15 base, and 5 armor piercing, flat trajectory. Reload time 11, total accuracy 20 as default, calibration distance 65, so less accurate outside point-blank range. Calibration area 1.8 is reminiscent of Free Company Militia for relatively tight groupings. There is a small penetration effect, don't rely on it, but it can happen if infantry are packed like sardines. I'll spoil and say it now, guard mode gives you a somewhat higher likelihood that individual entities will take potshots while not engaged in melee when the front line is engaged, if line of sight exists for that entity. The only ability besides Hide and Force is the now standard by our blood, making the unit break less. That's good. Now, there's a great weapons version. What's so great about it? As you might imagine, it's slightly more expensive, 700 recruit cost and 175 upkeep, with health and armor unchanged but a lack of those awesome shields. Interestingly, melee attack is actually the same, as is attack interval, and that's highly unusual. Melee defense has gone down to 34. Weapon strength rises to 36, split between base 10 and armor piercing 26. Charge bonus rises to 20. There is no bonus versus large. So we see that this is your dedicated option for chewing up heavily armored foes like Marauder champions, but units like that often have really high melee defense, so how often you'll hit can vary greatly. In the redline skills, firing drills adds plus 6 melee defense and 9% reload reduction at 3 pips. Skirmisher Traditions grants rank 7 armored Kossars plus 5 melee attack plus 15% ammunition and 15% missile resistance. In other words, even though they're treated like melee units with benefits otherwise, the red line treats them as hybrid missile troops. In the tech tree, Hooked Axe Blades returns for plus 4 melee defense, Mesh Layers provides 10% missile resistance across the board, but some other things are hiding. Pirate's Weapons adds plus 10% range, plus 2 armor piercing per missile strike, and reload time reduction 10% for so-called Kizlev units like this, and Breach Loaders separately adds plus 3 armor piercing damage and reload time reduction 15% for gunpowder units specifically. That means that armored Kossars will go through their pistols much faster and do up to double guaranteed armor piercing damage, but base damage per shot is completely unchanged. Oh well. So how do we use both variants? Since neither actually has charge defense versus large, they're ideal for clogging up the works against infantry and, particularly with the base variant, serving as missile tar pits, fending off mass archers and even to some extent handgunner-style armor-piercing bullet units. If you're handling the rest of your strategy well, using spells, heroes, and monsters to slow and tar pit, you'll have time to get a whole bunch of pot shots off and weaken an enemy for the melee brawl. Even if you're not playing with guard mode, the unit has a fairly high ability to take care of itself and mind its own business, challenging the enemy to have something clearly better in order to blow past your side. More likely, things will bog down on both sides, and it'll take time to sort out. And chewing up time is just as important to this kind of unit as chewing up enemy health pools. So just place them in strong positions at the center of the line or sprinkled left and right but not literally on the flanks, unless you have no cavalry threat to worry about, and even if you do, they'll serve as a crunchy speed bump. Like with Kossars, realistic expectations are your friends, but you have a much higher chance of getting 100% of their ammo used up than bow Kossars would. Since their use is obvious and straightforward, this is a good thing in a roster full of more complicated options. Do what comes naturally and let them brawl when the time for brawling has come. A low micro hybrid unit able to handle itself in a scrap deserves praise. Anything past this is an issue with specific hero support and or magical boosts and will depend on case by case. The great weapons version might be less defensive, and in a faction like dwarfs would be greatly frowned upon, but lack of any statistical penalty on offense is a good thing. You'll have to judge for yourselves how the animations hold up, but some matchups make this a solid choice. Having mostly base variants is probably safer if you have no idea what you'll be facing 5 turns down the road. Take care, and have fun shooting evil in the eye. Spitting can be cathartic. Bullets tend to be more effective.